It was a chaotic week at Disney World this last week with holiday news, Genie Plus news, Lightning Lane news, and we talk about it all on episode 82 of Salute to the Ears. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Salute to the Ears. I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Erica.
And we're going to do take 3 on this thing.
If you saw our social media, then you know that we tried to record twice this episode, back to back, and both ended up failing.
Right.
And not usable footage, no footage, then
no sound. So here we are. Yeah.
So we're here, and we're going to try this a third time. But here's the thing. I think this is a third time's a charm situation because there's definitely stuff that we talked about and went over that I feel like is going to be way better now that we've already done it.
I hope so. It feels like doing this a third time is fitting to what we're talking about. And the week that was Disney news, especially Disney parks. Last week was chaotic, to say the least. Like, it started off like fantastic. Like, hey, here's the holidays.
Yeah. Halfway to the holidays. We are more than halfway to the holidays.
Right. So we got news on Jollywood. Yeah. Jollywood Nights, which they're bringing back from last year. It looks like they've...
At Hollywood Studios.
At Hollywood Studios, yeah. They're adding more characters. They said there's going to be 30 plus characters roaming around.
Which is...
That's a lot. There's going to be an ice rink. Not for people to skate on, but to think of Disney on Ice. It's going to be a show.
It's got to be in the plaza in front of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I can't think of hardly any other place where you could put that in...
And only other thing I could think of is if during that time maybe Beauty and the Beast isn't going and it's just going to be a small rink and it's going to be up there on the stage.
Yeah, but then how do you... There's too much set-wise that you would have to change with that. I wouldn't it's got to be someplace where they can...
Right.
Not have to tear it down.
They're going to freeze Echo Lake.
I don't think they're going to freeze Echo Lake. What would you do with Gertie?
What did the dinosaurs do in the cold before?
Poor Gertie.
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do with it. But then you're also going to have Mickey's very special Christmas party. Is that what it's called?
Very Merry.
Very Merry, yeah. So I'm not so good with names. But that's coming back. There'll be new treats, and there's some new merch that goes with it. But for the most part, it's basically the same.
Some updates, some upgrades, but nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
But still exciting.
Yeah. And then Disney decided to take their Disney Snow Globe and throw Genie Plus into it and shake it and cause all kinds of chaos.
Yeah. So we have a new system that's coming in place at the end of July 24th. If you have plans to visit Disney anytime after July 24th, this is going to be the new system that is in place for you for Lightning Lanes.
Right.
This replaces Genie Plus. It's basically like Genie Plus and Fast Pass got together and had a baby.
Yep.
I described it earlier to my sister as everything now falls under the umbrella of Lightning Lanes.
Yeah.
And so the language is a little more concise, even if some of it feels a little more confusing.
Yeah.
Technically, the naming and the terminology is more precise. And so now you have all of the things that are falling under the umbrella of Lightning Lanes versus having the term Genie Plus and individual Lightning Lanes. And people were just getting really confused.
Right.
And I'm understanding of that. So now you have this umbrella of Lightning Lanes and 2 main drop downs out of that.
Right. You have your multi-pass Lightning Lane, and then you have your single pass Lightning Lane. Mm-hmm. The difference being the multi-pass Lightning Lane is for like most of your rides. It's your non-fancy rides.
Right. It is your it is Genie Plus.
Right.
So if you knew and understood Genie Plus, it's Genie Plus.
Mm-hmm.
It's paid per day, per person.
Right.
It gets you into those lightning lanes for those rides. The biggest difference is now you are going to be able to choose 3 of those ahead of time.
Right.
Before your park visit.
Right. Now, it can't just be 3 of the most popular rides, because now we're going back to the tier system like we had with Fast Pass.
Yeah.
Right? So you got your most popular, but not the most popular ride, because that's your fancy ride.
Those are your single pass lightning lanes. That's the other one that replaces individual lightning lanes.
Right. So you have a tier 1, and then you have the rest of your rides.
Right. Biggest difference is if you are a Disney Resort guest, you are staying on property, then you are going to be able to choose those rides for your party up to 7 days in advance.
Right.
If you are a non-Disney Resort guest, you are going to be able to choose up to 3 days in advance.
Right.
If you are an annual pass holder or a non-dated ticket person, you are going to be able to choose anywhere within that 3-day window.
Right.
So like if you are an annual pass holder and you're like, hey, you know what? The weather's looking great for tomorrow. We're going to go ahead and head over to Hollywood Studios tomorrow. You could hop on that day before and go ahead and choose your 3 if you're going to purchase lightning lanes.
Right.
So the biggest difference is that you get to do it ahead and that you have the tiered system now.
Right.
The only park that doesn't have a tiered system is Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
Which there's just not enough rides.
There's not enough rides there
to do a tiered system. You only have one ride that has an individual lightning lane there versus like Magic Kingdom has 2.
Right.
Epcot has 2.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
You got Cosmic Rewind.
And isn't Remy's
Is it tier 1? Yes.
Did it used to be in ILO?
Don't think so.
Am I just remembering back to the days of Virtual Queue?
Maybe.
Anyway, it doesn't have enough to warrant having 2 separate entities the way that the other 3 parks do. So there is a huge breakdown. There is lots of information on the Disney Parks website. We're going to share some of it in clips on here and try to showcase it as best we can. But here's the thing. We're all still trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
And any of the creators who are telling you already that they have it all figured out, they don't, because it hasn't been implemented yet. And so we don't know what we don't know yet.
Right.
But I'm actually pretty excited about this. I'm nervous about what it's going to mean for those people who don't get them booked ahead of time or aren't staying on Disney property. But I have been pounding the table since COVID happened to bring back Disney Resort guest perks. And this was one of them. That was one of the benefits before Genie Plus, when you just had Fast Pass. One of the benefits was getting to choose your Fast Passes or 3 of your Fast Passes ahead of time.
Right.
So that was incredible. I'm super excited about that. The other thing I'm really excited about is they dropped the 2-hour wait window between booking a lightning lane.
The thing that's going to be hard with this, and some of the things that people became comfortable with Genie Plus, and we were one of them, especially with Hollywood Studios, was stacking, especially for the afternoon and evening. Like, we would push all of our Genie Plus rides, all of our lightning lanes to the afternoon. You can't really do that the same way.
Can. I was thinking about this earlier.
Okay.
And I didn't realize this when we were recording last night. And this is one of the reasons why I said,
okay,
I think maybe this is going to go better. So the way it works now is you can choose one tier 1 ride ahead of time.
Yep.
And 2 of the lower tier so you get up to 3 rides. Or you can choose all from the lower tier.
Right.
You don't have to choose a top one if you don't like, roller coasters and stuff like that, which is most of what those are.
Right.
So you could just do, all lower ones if you wanted to. The way we would stack, I think the same thing will apply, but we would do it where it was like, okay, you booked your 7 a.m. one because we'd be staying on property, and then we'd book another one when the park opened. And then we would use those or wait the 2-hour window. Like we would use one and then wait the 2-hour window on the next one and we would then start stacking for the afternoon. I think you're going to be able to end up doing kind of the same thing, where you are booking those ones ahead of time, getting them for the morning, and then as you are using them, you get to immediately book another one. So depending on what times are available, you may still be stacking in that same kind of way. The biggest difference is, so you use those 3 in the morning, you could stack then the next 3 for later in the day, and then free up some of your day and be able to do those later in the day. Like, it just depends on how you want to use it. I think it's going to go one of 2 ways. You're either going to have where you're able to get through the park a heck of a lot faster and be able to get everything done by 2 p.m. and go back to hang out to the resort, or go to another park, or you know, do something else.
You mentioned other parks, and that's one of the nice things about this. But the way Genie Plus is set up right now, it's you either are paying for one park or you're paying for multi-parks if you have Park Hopper and you're planning on bouncing around.
And you didn't have to buy it for, you could have Park Hopper on your tickets and only buy a single day Genie Plus before. Or you could buy the multi, and that would get you all the parks.
That allowed you to be able to jump around to all the parks and, and use Genie Plus. Now, you don't have to buy a multi-park pass. It's all included. So, if you have Park Hopper...
that was one of the confusing things, that people were not understanding they needed to buy the other one, and they're like, but I have Park Hopper.
It could be. This just becomes a lot more convenient and a lot easier to be able to take advantage of your Park Hopper.
The nice thing with this too is it looks like right now that you're going to be able to book in multiple parks ahead of time. Like, you're not going to have to only book for that first park where you have a reservation.
We might want to look at that. I thought I read that wherever your reservation's at, you have your 3 there, and then once you use one, then you can start booking in the other parks.
One of the nice things about this is it's set up so that when you book ahead of time, you can book up to 14 days of your stay at that 7-day mark. Similar to how FastPass was before, where you booked 45 days in advance, which was stinky because you didn't know what the weather was going to be.
Or 60, yeah.
And when you book out that 7 days, if you have a 10-day vacation, you're going to be able to book all the different days that you want to book all at once for that vacation, starting 7 days out from your first day. So you are now, one of the not problems, but one of the things with this is you're going to go from having every day getting to make the decision of like, where are we at budget wise?
Right.
Are we paying for Genie Plus, or are we totally maxed out? You've got to decide that ahead of time now and decide, okay, I'm going to go in, choose my rides for this day. Then you get to pay for it. So you can also add those individual lightning lanes in the same transaction. So it clears it up as all one transaction.
Right.
Instead of having to, before it was like, buy Genie Plus, go in, book your first ride, book your virtual queue, book your individual lightning lane. And those were all 3 separate transactions. I mean, I know virtual queue isn't a paid transaction, but like, they were 3 separate things you had to do on the app. And now you've eliminated 2 of them potentially ahead of time.
I wonder if this is going to slow down how many people buy it. Because all of a sudden you're going to have this big bill in your face of like, whoa, I'm really spending this much.
Yeah, because I mean, you go on the very lowest end of what it might cost at like $15 or even $20 per person per day.
Right.
Family of 4, you're looking at $60 to $80.
Right.
You know, for that family of 4 per day.
Right. And then if you want a single pass, you're looking at another $15 to $20 per person. At least.
Yeah, so you're looking at, if you purchase one that's about $20 a day for the lightning lanes, all of them, to get the multi-pass. And then you end up with another like $15 to $17 single lightning lane for those fancy rides, Smalley calls them, like Guardians, like Tron, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, Flight of Passage.
Yep.
If you spend that, I mean, you're looking at going from $80 per day to $160 per day added in there.
Yeah, like, and that's if you just do one. If you do two, like add in another 80. Like
it's and that's assuming that your whole party is participating in this. And I know that's one of the complaints everybody's like, oh my gosh, Disney's so expensive. It's so expensive. Here's the thing. You can have an amazing trip without doing this.
Right. 100%.
It is not required in order to enjoy going to Disney parks.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to do this 100% without having to spend that extra, $60 to $80 a day for a family of 4 in order to have a good time. So hear us out when we say that, like, it is not required.
It's not required. And like right now, I know times are very exaggerated. Like people are getting in line and it says 45 minutes to an hour and it's either a walk on or 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like
don't let it scare you.
Yeah. It's, if you don't see big lines and it's a big wait, there's a good chance it may not be that wait.
Yeah. It's definitely going to be a learning curve for all of us. Like, yes, we are all, for the most part, as Disney content creators, we understand what was Genie Plus, Lightning Lanes, like Fast, but this whole system, it makes sense to us at this point.
Right.
But this is going to be a learning curve, and it's going to especially be a learning curve for Disney too, in determining how many of those slots you give away at the 7-day mark.
Yeah.
How many of those slots you give away at the 3-day mark, and how many of those slots that you save for day of to make it to incentivize to make it an incentive to purchase Genie Plus day of if you haven't previously done it. This is going to be interesting.
Right. The one thing I will say, if you're getting ready to go on your first trip or you haven't been in a while and you're hearing about all this and it's very confusing, find a travel agent.
Yeah.
There are lots of Disney travel agents who will help you through this or book those first 3 for you.
Our favorite girl, Lori, is in the description.
And they will help you through it and they'll book those rides for you and it doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Lori's mornings just got a little busier.
Yeah, they probably did.
You need a friend.
Yeah.
The thing that I do really find interesting is what rides became tier 1,
right,
and what rides became tier 2 or the bottom tier.
Yeah. No, and going through the tiers again now multiple times, there's some parks where I'm like, ooh, this is tough. Like picking your tier 1, and then you get down to your tier 2, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna pick this. Like Magic Kingdom, your tier 1s are Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, Jungle Cruise, Peter Pan's Flight, Space Mountain, and Tiana's Bayou Adventure.
Tiana.
Yeah. Any of those surprise you?
Honestly, I think Jungle Cruise surprised me on this one.
Yeah.
I thought it would be a regular Lightning Lane. Like the other ones didn't. Peter Pan's Flight always gets backed up. It's just so iconic. It's so nostalgic for so many of us. It's always backed up. And it's an all ages ride. That's one of the other things with it.
I think you can say the exact same thing about Jungle Cruise. It's always the biggest wait on that side of the park.
Yeah.
So I think that's why Jungle Cruise is up there.
It's almost like, I mean, really, there's, other than Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, which I think Tiana's will eventually drop, or Big Thunder could drop. I feel like one of those could drop.
Yeah.
And then you end up with one in each land.
Could be.
Like I can see it being that there's one in each land, and then but Big Thunder's getting ready to go down for refurb anyway.
Yeah,
that's going to drop. And so, I mean, you'd have Jungle Cruise over in Adventureland, Peter Pan's Flight in Fantasyland, Space Mountain in Tomorrowland, and then Tiana's over in Frontier.
Right. Yeah. And then tier 2 is really all your other rides in the park. It's no longer including the popular meet and greets.
Like princesses or Mickey.
Yeah. No longer including the parades or Happily Ever After.
Yeah. The castle shows or like the stage shows like that are not the ones that don't have a seat for you to sit in.
Mm-hmm.
Because some of the other parks still have, like Hollywood Studios still has ones like Indiana Jones that you can get a lightning lane for.
Right. So that takes us over to Hollywood, since you brought that up. And this park is probably the toughest, at least for me, to figure out my tier one that I'd want to choose. I think like a lot of us are going to go for the same one, but there's plenty of good ones here. Your tier ones are Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Rock and Roller Coaster, and Slinky Dog Dash.
Well, Slinky Dog Dash is my top because for me, it's been the hardest one for us to get.
It is.
So that would be my top one.
Right.
But
and that line is hot to wait in.
All the other ones are available in Hollywood Studios, including, like I said, Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, First Time in Forever, a Frozen Sing-Along, Beauty and the Beast live on stage, because those are ones where they can seat you by section.
Right.
And so you can have that lightning lane and get in first and be able to be seated first in those because they hold everybody back. So that is different than, say, like the In Front of the Castle stage show, where it's just a roped off area.
Right. I think the thing that surprised me most with these, and I understand why, but in tier 2, you have Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Like that thing backs up. Like those lines get long for that thing.
Don't know that it's just about how long the line gets, though. I think it has to do more with their data that they've already pulled from Genie Plus that says how fast are these ones getting booked? How fast are these ones going away? Where are the ones that we want people to maybe
like in that queue can hold a lot of people. Yeah. So that may be part of it as well. As we said, Animal Kingdom, they're all the same tier.
Yeah.
Like,
which makes sense.
It does. There just isn't anything over there now. Now, once they switch it up and they actually do something with Dino Land, that'll change.
Yeah.
That'll change. So over in Epcot,
you only have 3 rides.
You only got 3. But I mean,
list.
Yeah. And 2 of the 3 are really popular. And actually, all 3 of them are very popular right now with Test Track being down.
Everything in Epcot is popular with Test Track now.
Yeah. So you have Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and Soarin' Around the World. Those are your 3 tier 1s.
I mean, I liked Frozen Ever After. It was really cute, but you won't.
Right.
If somebody was like, hey, you can go right to the front of the line and ride it, I'd be like, okay.
I would ride it again.
I'd ride it again, but I don't know that I would spend a lightning lane on it. Like if I
would. I mean, if I want to be in Epcot, because your tier 2 choices are meh. Like you have the Pixar Short Film Festival. You got Journey into Imagination with Figment, which if I don't ever ride that ride again, I'm like, yeah.
About the only time we tend to use lightning lanes in Epcot, we always do Park Hopper, and that's about the only time that we use lightning lanes in Epcot is when we've not been in Epcot all day, like we're in another park and we're park hopping over, because there's just so few rides that for us are like must-dos, other than Guardians, which the Guardians ride is still a virtual queue and a single lightning lane. So a paid lightning, like individual lightning lane and a virtual queue. So that's a totally separate list than what, separate entity than what we're talking about here.
Right. Yeah. I was trying to look to see if there was anything else on tier 2 that I'm like.
I'm excited about the fact that like you have Turtle Talk with Crush.
Yeah. I guess we don't think about it because we don't really have littles.
We don't have littles, but when we've gone, it's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, Animal Kingdom is, you just can, like we said, you can just get whatever. Once you have to, if you're trying to burn through all of your lightning lanes in Epcot, there's some of them I'm like, you don't need a lightning lane for it. Like Living with the Land, you can usually get on that sucker pretty quick.
Here's the thing. When the park is super busy, that line does get backed up. Like I have seen where people are waiting in line for that for quite a while. And I have seen people waiting in line for a long time for Spaceship Earth as well.
Spaceship Earth, yes.
Like
living with the land, it seems like every time I go by there, like at most it's like a 15-minute wait.
Okay, but we haven't been in a hot minute when it is like prime.
Yeah, that's true.
We tend to pick times and dates when it's lower crowds anyway.
Right, and we tend to skip that one to begin with because we live in living with the land.
You posted that on Threads the other day, and I was like, yeah, it's true. We live in farm country, so it makes sense. Okay, well, here's what I want to know.
Uh-huh.
If you had to pick a park that you were like, this is the park right now that based on this new system, this is the one park that I would choose. Like if I could only do one day of Lightning Lane on my trip, what would you do? What park would you do, and why?
Well, I think for us, it's going to be Hollywood. Just because one, there's not as many rides, so those lines tend to get backed up. Right. So having Lightning Lane would be great. Now, when our kids were little, or if we were taking littles with us, probably Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
But I mean, Jackson's never been that little when we've gone. So I mean, first ride was Tower of Terror. Like
it wasn't his first ride ever at the park. No, we rode some other stuff that was like smaller. Hollywood Studios wasn't his first.
I'm like 99% sure. That's like ingrained. That's like a core memory for this guy.
I thought
probably not the best parenting decision, but
I thought he did some others. I thought we did Magic Kingdom first.
Nope. Anyway.
Okay. I don't remember. I was still had a tiny baby, so I don't.
Okay. True.
I would say the same though. For us, it would definitely be Hollywood. And again, we always do Park Hopper. I will always recommend Park Hopper if you are trying to fit in all the things in a shorter period of time, because it gives you just more flexibility on what you're doing in the parks. And especially now that cost is already going to be factored in there for Lightning Lanes.
Yeah.
It just makes sense. So if there's only one or two things at another park that you're like, I only have one or two of these rides that I would use Lightning Lane on. Have Park Hopper.
Yeah.
Use it towards that.
Yeah.
You're going to end up with a much better experience in that than you will, say, especially staying on property and using Disney transportation.
All right. Well, I know we've already done this once, but let's play a game of what would you do? Okay. We're going to pick our park. You're going to tell me what you would pick, how your day would go.
Epcot.
Because we already got there. Look at that. I knew what you were going to get. It's 20 years of marriage.
Tier 1. Your tier 1s are Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and Soarin' Around the World. I am 100% Remy's Ratatouille Adventure for my tier 1.
Okay.
That ride is so cute. I really do enjoy it. I wish it was a little longer, honestly, but...
last couple of times I've rode it, it seems like they've turned the smells down. Like you'd smell like the
maybe that's just
the bread, maybe.
I don't know. That was just you. The other ones that I would probably do is Spaceship Earth, because the line has always been so ridiculously long.
It gets that way,
that I haven't ridden it in years. And I would probably do Spaceship Earth because I would be like, I want to make sure that I ride this. And then for having to kind of like have to choose a 3, I would probably do Figment, but typically you don't need a Lightning Lane for Figment, but I would probably just do that just so I could be like, see, we're going to ride Figment.
Yeah. Well, I think I would do the same one for tier 1 as Remy's. But my tier 2s would be different. I'm going the Seas with Nemo and Friends because they're fun.
Never waited in line for either.
Most of these you don't have to wait in line for. Are you kidding me? And I know everyone else hates it, but I don't mind it with Mission Space. So,
I don't mind Mission Space. Well, green side.
Yep.
I can't do the orange side.
I'll do whatever side, but I like it.
I throw up.
But if I don't ride it, I'm not like, oh man, I didn't ride it. So, all right. So my turn. Which turn am I going to get? There's no Animal Kingdom in here, by the way, because there's no point to that. And I got one that's sealed shut. And the Oscar goes to...
Would you like some help?
It's Magic Kingdom. I can see it through the paper. It's Magic Kingdom.
You're driving me crazy.
See? Magic Kingdom. Magic Kingdom. All right. So we're going to scroll up. My tier 1 is Tiana's. Obviously, Tiana's.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be trying to get that. So we're going to say that one's sold out.
What would you do if you log on and it's already sold out for those 7 days?
For the whole 7 days? It looks like standby time. Or waiting in line.
No, but I mean, what would you choose if that was one that
which
you
one
couldn't
would I
get? Like, what would be your second choice for tier 1?
Probably Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I can get Jungle Cruise at some point during the day, and Big Thunder Mountain kind of goes like this anyway. And you can probably get that one during the day. I'm not too worried about it. Peter Pan will probably sell out for pretty fast too, because some people really enjoy that ride, and that line moves so slow.
Some people.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I just hate.
I love the queue. Like
once we get into the room.
Once you get into the room, like the queue is fantastic. They did such a great job reimagining that. But yeah,
there's no air. Like the air does not move in there.
Mm-mm.
There's nothing. It's warm in there.
So what would your other two be then? Because this has the largest list.
Right,
of
it does.
The bottom tier rides, because you have everything from like Mickey's PhilharMagic to It's a Small World.
Right. I'm probably going Haunted Mansion and Pirates.
Same.
Yeah, with my next one being Buzz Lightyear.
Really? Buzz would be your other one?
My third. It'd be my, once I use one, probably. It'd be my next one up.
Yeah. Those tend to be the ones that we use. Like, there are certain rides that, like, we typically don't ride. Barnstormer's one of them. We typically don't do Tomorrowland Speedway.
No.
Can't handle the smell. Magic Carpets of Aladdin we typically don't do unless there's like
it's just another spinny ride. We don't always do we don't really typically do Dumbo. No. I think last time you and I went was the first time I've done Dumbo in
a hot minute.
Years.
Since we went with the Kendra's kids.
Yeah. It's a Small World isn't always high on our list. So I mean there's only so many of them we're gonna choose from.
Yeah. Those are it's like all of the tier 1 are all the rides that we're like must-dos for us.
But that's why they're tier 1, because they're like must-dos for everybody.
Everybody's must-dos at Magic Kingdom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Last one means that it is Hollywood Studios.
How does this one always get picked last?
Because it's awesome. I don't know
what
to tell you.
Yeah.
Okay, so choices for tier 1 are Mickey and Minnie's, Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, and Slinky Dog Dash. I have to go Slinky Dog Dash just because it goes so fast. I said this earlier, but after that, it's a toss-up between Mickey and Minnie's and Rock and Roller Coaster for me. I love Rock and Roller Coaster. Is one of my favorite roller coasters in Disney. If you were like, here's VIP, you can go to the front of the line, like you have to go ride Smuggler's Run, I'd be like, okay. Like, I'm not against it, but it is not a ride that I am interested in riding, and it's like, it's not a must-do for me anymore, the way that Rise of the Resistance is. Rise of the Resistance is still a single lightning lane. Yeah. So it is an individual pay-to-enjoy lightning lane. So that one is separate from this list. Right. My other two would probably be Toy Story Mania and Tower of Terror. Okay. I love Star Tours. If we had one during the day for that, I would probably use it. I typically don't use lightning lanes for the shows because, again, we go at off-peak times. I don't have to do that in order to guarantee a seat for the next show. I mean, we've gotten in literally as the show is starting for Frozen Ever After and for First Time in Forever, Frozen Sing-Along. Like, we literally, like, back 2 rows of the show, and it's full. Right. But there were still seats.
You can get in there. Yeah. So I have a different kind of theory with this. So, I mean, I'd probably try and get Slinky Dog too, but my favorite time to ride Slinky Dog is at sunset or at night. Right. So if I do that, if I get that first thing in the morning or try to get it first thing in the morning for my first tier 1, then I'm either waiting all day.
Here's my thing though. You're not just booking, like, this is something to think about with these. You're not just booking them as like morning ones.
Right, I know.
I wonder if they're really going to try to space them. Like, I'm very curious how this is going to work. If they're going to try to stack these ones in the morning, so that you can use more throughout the day,
right? Or
are they going to space them out throughohout the day?
So I think I'm just going to go a different way. I don't mind riding Rock and Roller Coaster in the morning. Me and Jackson rode it like 3 times in a row, like before the park was really even open. So I don't mind riding that first thing in the morning, and that line gets long and that queue is hot.
Yeah.
Hot. So I might knock that one out. Mickey's Runaway Railway, same thing, kind of like Big Thunder. That line kind of goes up and down. So I think you can get that sometime during the day. And then for my tier 2s, I'd probably go the same thing. Tower of Terror and Toy Story Mania. But if I couldn't get one of those, what's number 3? Star Tours or Indiana Jones, maybe. Like, I like Indiana Jones show, but you can usually walk into that.
Yeah, Alien Swirling Saucers might be another one. Yeah. It's one that I don't like waiting in line for. Like, I enjoy riding it. I just don't like having to wait in that line because it's one of those rides like the Teacups where you're standing there watching everybody else ride it and listening to the music over and over and over and over again while you're waiting, and you get to the point where you're like, okay, I'm so done.
If it was Baymax at Tokyo Disney is the same system and everybody's dancing and singing along, if it was like that, then that'd be fun.
It'd be fun, but
nobody's doing that. No, you do that here in the U.S. and people are going to look at you like you're crazy.
Alien Swirling Saucers Revolution and like an Alien Swirling Saucers Dance Revolution. Like, we need to...
Yeah, but I don't know if it's going to work with what everybody calls it.
What?
Alien Swirling Saucer. Just take the first letter of each. So it may not work. Anyway.
This is a family show.
That's why I didn't say the word.
This is a family show, sir.
I did not say the word. So I think that's probably a good time to say, if you have any questions with any of this, feel free to hit us up on social media at Twitter, Instagram, or Threads.
Yes.
And all
Hopefully
those.
I can convince you to drop Twitter at some point.
We'll see.
X, sorry.
Yeah, there's still a lot of good Disney news that comes out of there. So
a lot of those creators have moved to Threads, though, too. They're posting on both.
Anyway, swoop to the ears on all of those. And feel free to hit us up with any questions that you got. With that, I'm going to say, go out and find your joy.
And have a magical week.